Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're focusing our entire exploration on, well, on a single, short, but incredibly potent passage of Scripture.
We are. We're going to be walking through Psalm 11.
And all the material we're working with today, the entire framework for this teaching, comes from a series provided by the UNFIJ Faith in Jesus team.
It's a fantastic resource. Our goal here is to really get into the weeds, to do some detailed scriptural teaching.
Absolutely. Because this psalm, it's really about a moment of intense crisis. It's about what you do, what King David did, when the very foundations of society seem to be crumbling under your feet.
And that's a feeling a lot of people can relate to today. The mission here is to look at David's response and find that foundational truth, that thing that gives you unshakable confidence when everything else is shaking.
It's that core question, isn't it? When all the well-meaning, fear-based advice tells you to run, to hide, to get away, where is your true source of safety? Where do you actually go?
It's such a critical question because what David does here is he elevates the entire conflict. It's not just about physical survival anymore. It becomes a theological showdown between worldly wisdom and heavenly sovereignty.
So let's jump right in. Let's start at the very beginning with verse 1, because the tension is there immediately.
It really is. Here's how it opens in the King James Version.
Psalm chapter 11, verse 1.
In the Lord put I my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain?
Okay, so right away it's a confrontation. He starts with this absolute statement, this declaration. In the Lord put I my trust.
It's already settled for him. It's a past tense decision. He's not trying to figure it out in the moment. He's reminding himself and his advisors of a truth he's already built his life on.
Which makes the second half of the verse so pointed. How say ye to my soul? He's almost offended.
He is. It's a challenge. How can you possibly suggest this to me? Because their advice, flee as a bird to your mountain, is a direct assault on his declaration of faith.
And yet, from a worldly perspective, their advice makes perfect sense.
Oh, completely. It's the most logical, practical thing you could possibly do. If you're being hunted, maybe by King Saul, you find high ground, you find a fortress, you find a cave, you run.
It's the survival instinct. The bird analogy is perfect. A bird doesn't stand and fight. Its safety is in its speed and its ability to get to a high, inaccessible place.
Exactly. It's a natural self-preservation response. The mountain represents the peak of human strategy, a physical solution for a physical threat.
But David sees a flaw in that logic.
A huge one. He recognizes that seeking a geographical solution for what is ultimately a spiritual crisis is, well, it's a trap.
A trap. How so?
Because if your trust is in the mountain, your hope is only as good as that mountain. An army can surround a mountain. You can be starved out of a cave. Your physical location is always, always vulnerable.
So David's trust isn't in a place. It's in a person.
That's the whole point. His security isn't contingent on geography or politics or anything else that can shift. It's based on the unchanging character of God.
That immediately makes me think of the cross-reference in Proverbs. I think it's chapter 18, verse 10.
Yes. A perfect parallel.
The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe.
There it is. That's the biblical answer to David's counselors. Where do you run? You don't run to a mountain of rock. You run into the strong tower that is the name of the Lord.
And the name of the Lord isn't a physical place. It's, what is it? His character, his power.
It's all of that. It's his reputation, his faithfulness, his sovereign authority. It's a spiritual fortress. You don't need a map to get there. You access it through faith.
So David is basically saying, I'm already in the strongest, most secure fortress in the universe. Why would I abandon it for a temporary hiding spot on a hill?
You've got it. That's the argument. And it's such a crucial first step for us. When you feel overwhelmed, the world's first piece of advice is always to change your circumstances.
Right. Change your job. Move to a new city, rearrange your finances.
All horizontal solutions. David teaches us that the very first move has to be vertical. You run to God in trust, not away from your problems in fear.
You anchor yourself first.
You anchor yourself first. Because if you don't, if you run in fear, you're just validating the worldly wisdom. But by stating his trust up front, David reframes the entire situation. He's looking at the problem from the perspective of heaven, not from the ground up.
Now, this isn't to say that the threat isn't real. David isn't just, engaging in wishful thinking. He's very clear-eyed about the danger.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes this so powerful. He's not naive. Look at verse 2. He immediately validates the concerns of his advisors. He sees what they see.
Right. Psalm chapter 11, verse 2.
For lo, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart.
Okay, that is incredibly vivid language. This isn't just a vague threat, it's imminent.
It's calculated, they bend their bow. That takes effort, strength. They make ready their arrow upon the string. This means they're taking aim. It's a premeditated, coordinated attack.
But the word that really jumps out, the one that defines the nature of this attack, is privily.
Yes, that's the key. Privily shoot. It means secretly. In ambush. From the shadows.
So this isn't an open battle, it's not an honorable fight.
Not at all. It's cowardly. It's conspiracy. It suggests the enemy knows they can't win in a fair, open fight, so they have to resort to deception, to slander, to attacks that you can't see coming.
Which is often so much more terrifying.
Of course. And look at the target. Who are they shooting at?
The upright in heart.
Exactly. Not the rich, not the powerful, but those whose core motivation, whose inner life is aligned with God. They're targeting integrity.
So the goal isn't necessarily physical death, but maybe character assassination.
That's a huge part of it. If you can't defeat someone in the light, you try to destroy their reputation in the dark. You poison the well. You neutralize their influence by making them seem corrupt or untrustworthy.
And the arrows then could be literal weapons, but they're just as likely to be words.
Yes. Destructive words, bitter words. There's another great parallel for this in Psalm chapter 64, verses 3 and 4. It says, "The wicked whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect."
The weapon is the tongue. The tactic is secrecy.
Precisely. And that's why this is so relevant for us today. I mean, think about our world. We live in an age of privily shot arrows.
Social media, anonymous comments.
Misinformation, conspiracies that spread like wildfire, a reputation that took a lifetime to build can be destroyed in an afternoon by unseen attackers. The technology is new, but the tactic is ancient.
So if the attack is secret, how can we possibly defend ourselves?
That's where David's faith comes back in. The practical takeaway here is spiritual alertness, but it's not about learning to dodge arrows you can't see.
What is it about then?
It's about trusting the one who sees everything. David's response isn't to hire more bodyguards or to build a better surveillance system. His response is to trust his shield.
God sees the archer in the shadows.
He sees the archer, he sees the arrow in flight, and he sees the heart of the target. Our safety doesn't depend on our own cleverness or our ability to anticipate every attack. It depends on God's perfect, all-seeing vision.
Which is a complete shift in responsibility. It's not my job to see everything. It's my job to trust the one who does.
And that reality, that intense threat, leads directly into the core question of the whole psalm. The reason David's advisors are so terrified.
Yes, verse 3. This is where it all comes to a head. It's the panicked question that drives their advice to run.
This is the philosophical heart of their fear.
Psalm chapter 11, verse 3. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do?
And you can just hear the desperation in that question. It's the ultimate cry of despair when society itself seems to be breaking down.
So we need to be clear about what foundations means here. We're not talking about buildings, are we?
No, not at all. In David's world, the foundations are the pillars of civilization. We're talking about the rule of law, justice, the courts, the shared moral understanding of right and wrong, the covenants that hold society together.
So when they say the foundations are destroyed, they mean the whole system is corrupt.
Exactly. The game is rigged. Justice is for sale, truth doesn't matter, wickedness is rewarded, and innocence is punished. The basic ground rules for a functioning moral society are just gone.
And their conclusion from that is, well, it's pretty bleak.
It is. Their argument is, if the entire system that's supposed to uphold righteousness is shattered, then what's the point of being righteous anymore? What can one good person possibly do in the face of total systemic collapse?
What can the righteous do? It's a question of futility.
It is, and their answer is nothing. There's nothing you can do here. So run, get to the mountain, save yourself, because the whole thing is coming down.
I have to say, that feeling is incredibly relatable. You look at the world, you see institutions failing, you see moral confusion, and that same question comes up.
Of course. Why fight for truth if no one agrees on what truth is? Why act with integrity if the corrupt seem to be winning? It's a very real, very human anxiety.
So what is David's answer? Does he give them a 10-point plan to fix the foundations?
No, and this is the genius of it. He doesn't offer a political or a social solution. He doesn't even argue that the earthly foundations can be saved.
What does he do?
He pivots. He completely changes the frame of reference. He lifts their eyes from the crumbling human foundation on earth to the eternal, unshakable foundation in heaven.
And there's a New Testament verse that just nails this idea, isn't there?
There is. It's the perfect answer to the despair of Psalm 11, verse 3. It's in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 19. Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure, having the seal, the Lord knoweth them that are his.
The foundation of God standeth sure.
It's unshakable. It cannot be destroyed by human corruption or political chaos. God's foundation is his own character, his own promises, his own people, and that foundation is secure.
So the answer to the question, what can the righteous do, is...
The righteous can stand. They can stand firm, not on the shifting sands of human institutions, but on the solid rock of God's eternal truth.
So our stability doesn't come from the world around us being stable.
Not at all. It can't. Our stability comes from being anchored to the one who is stable, regardless of the chaos around us. It's an internal posture of faith that creates external resilience.
When you're standing on solid ground, you're not as worried about the storm raging around you.
That's it, exactly. And having established where that solid ground is, David then gives this magnificent, triumphant picture of the one who is sitting on the throne.
Yes, verse 4 is the response. It's the antidote to the panic of verse 3. He literally lifts our gaze upward.
He does. It's the anchor of the whole psalm. Let's read it. Psalm chapter 11, verse 4.
The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try, the children of men.
What a statement. After hearing about destroyed foundations on earth, we're immediately told that God's position hasn't changed one bit. He is in his holy temple. His throne is in heaven.
He's not panicking. He's not wringing his hands. He's enthroned, secure, in charge.
It's a declaration of absolute sovereignty. The chaos on earth does not in any way threaten the stability of heaven. God is still king. That single truth is the reason the righteous can stand firm.
There's that verse in Habakkuk that comes to mind. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 20. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him.
Yes, that's a perfect connection. The command to keep silence is so powerful. It means that all the noise on earth, the plotting of the wicked, the panic shouting of the fearful, it's all just noise. Before the throne of God, it has no ultimate power.
So we move from the frantic counsel of David's friends to the holy silence commanded by the king.
A beautiful way to put it. But God isn't just sitting there silently detached from it all. The second half of the verse shows us he's actively engaged.
His eyes behold, his eyelids try, the children of men. We should probably break that down.
We should. His eyes behold is straightforward enough. It means he sees everything. Nothing is hidden from him. He sees the public acts of the righteous, and he sees the secret plots of the wicked we heard about in verse 2.
But then it adds, his eyelids try. That's a curious phrase. What's the significance of his eyelids?
It implies a much more intense level of observation. It's not a passive glance. Think about how you look at something when you're really examining it. You might squint, you focus. The movement of the eyelids suggests a deep, piercing scrutiny.
So it's not just seeing, it's assessing.
It's assessing, testing, sifting. The word try here means to examine for authenticity. God is constantly looking at the children of men and discerning their true motives, their true character. He's separating the real from the fake.
So while the wicked think they're getting away with their secret plans,
God's focused gaze is on them the entire time, performing a judicial review in real time. He is not unaware. He is not inactive. He is observing with perfect clarity.
the practical takeaway from that is just peace. It's a huge source of peace.
It is. You don't have to worry about defending your own reputation against every lie. You don't have to uncover every plot. You can rest, knowing that the sovereign judge of the universe sees everything perfectly.
And that perfect vision, that divine scrutiny, leads to two very different outcomes, which he explains in the very next verse.
Exactly. Verse 5 clarifies what happens as a result of God's trial, of his intense gaze.
Psalm chapter 11, verse 5. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth.
Let's focus on the first part, the part for the believer. The Lord trieth the righteous. Now, we just talked about the word try, meaning to test or examine.
Right, so it's easy to hear that and think it means God is putting us through painful tests just for the sake of it.
And that's a common misunderstanding. We have to be really clear. This trying is not punishment. It's purification.
Like a refiner's fire.
That is the perfect analogy. A goldsmith uses fire not to destroy the gold, but to burn away the impurities, the dross, to make it more pure and more valuable.
So the trials God allows in our lives, the times when the foundations feel like they're shaking.
Those are the very fires he uses to strengthen our faith, to prove its genuineness, and to shape our character. The difficulties are not a sign of his anger, they're a sign of his craftsmanship. They are preparation, not penalty.
That reframes suffering completely. It gives it purpose.
Yeah.
And the reference in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7 says exactly that.
It does. It says the trial of your faith is much more precious than of gold that perisheth, because when it's tried by fire, it will result in praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ.
So our trials are producing something of eternal value.
Yes. They're proving that our declaration back in verse 1, "In the Lord put I my trust," was real.
Okay, so that's the experience of the righteous. But then the verse pivots sharply.
Very sharply. "But the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth." That's strong language. We need to understand what hateth means in this context.
It's not like human hatred, which is often petty or emotional.
Not at all. This isn't a temper tantrum. This is the holy, just, perfect, and settled opposition of a completely righteous God to everything that is evil. God's very nature is light, so it must stand in absolute opposition to darkness.
It's a statement about holiness. If God loves righteousness, as the last verse of the psalm says, then he must, by definition, hate unrighteousness.
He must. And notice the specific phrasing, "him that loveth violence." It's not just about someone who commits a single act of violence. It's about a person whose heart, whose desires are bent toward destruction and malice. Their character is fixed in opposition to God.
So there's a dual comfort here for the believer. First, my trials are refining me.
Yes.
And second, the God I serve is not neutral about the injustice I see in the world. He is actively and eternally opposed to it.
And that active opposition is what guarantees that justice will eventually be done. Which brings us inevitably to the sobering reality of verse 6.
Right. If God's soul hates wickedness, there must be a consequence. And verse 6 describes that consequence in, frankly, terrifying detail.
It is terrifying, and it's meant to be. It's a stark warning. Let's read Psalm chapter 11, verse 6.
Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and a horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup.
Okay, this is a picture of supernatural judgment. This is not a description of a natural disaster. This is a direct act of God.
Let's look at the pieces. It starts with snares. Why snares?
Because it speaks of sudden, unexpected entrapment. Remember how the wicked were trying to privily shoot from the shadows?
Yes, they were the hunters.
Exactly. But in the moment of God's judgment, the hunters become the hunted. They are suddenly caught in a trap they didn't see coming. There's no escape.
And then comes the part everyone recognizes. Fire and brimstone.
And that is not accidental language. David is deliberately invoking one of the most famous judgments in all of Scripture.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis chapter 19, verse 24 says, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven." It's a direct quote almost. It signifies total, complete, divinely executed destruction from which there is no recovery.
And on top of that, an horrible tempest.
Just overwhelming, chaotic, violent wrath. A storm you cannot weather. But it's the last phrase that really personalizes it.
This shall be the portion of their cup.
Yes. The cup in Scripture often represents one's allotted destiny or fate. Sometimes it's a cup of blessing. Here, it's a cup of wrath.
And it's the portion they chose.
That's the key. This isn't random. It is the just and deserved outcome for a life spent loving violence and rejecting righteousness. They filled their own cup, and now they must drink it.
It's a sobering reminder that God's justice is as real and as perfect as his love. And for those who reject his grace, judgment is certain.
It is. And for the believer, this isn't a reason to gloat. It should be a motivation. First, to live rightly ourselves. And second, to urgently share the good news of salvation through Christ, which is the only way for anyone to escape this judgment.
Absolutely. The certainty of this judgment makes the certainty of God's favor, which we see in the final verse, all the more precious.
It does. David brings it all home in verse 7, anchoring everything back into the very nature and character of God.
Psalm chapter 11, verse 7.
For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness. His countenance doth behold the upright.
That first line is the reason for everything else in the song.
It is. It's the engine driving the whole thing. Why does God test the righteous? Why does he hate violence? Why does he judge the wicked? Because he is, in his very essence, a righteous Lord who loveth righteousness. All his actions flow from his unchanging, holy character.
It's the theological foundation for everything we've just discussed.
Exactly. And because that's true, we get this beautiful, intimate promise that closes the psalm.
His countenance doth behold the upright.
Let's contrast that with verse 4. In verse 4, his eyelids try all the children of men with judicial scrutiny. But for the upright, it's different.
What does countenance mean here exactly?
It means his face, his favor, his approval, his loving presence. For God's countenance to hold you is not just for him to see you, it's for him to look upon you with fatherly delight and care.
So the wicked get his scrutiny, but the righteous get his smile.
That's a wonderful way of putting it. It's a gaze of relationship, of acceptance. It's the ultimate security. The counselor said, "Run to a mountain for safety." David concludes by saying, "My safety is living under the direct, loving gaze of the King of the universe."
This reminds me of Psalm 34, verse 15. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry.
A perfect parallel. It's not just a passive gaze, it's an attentive, caring focus. He sees us, and he hears us.
So the ultimate reward, the ultimate source of our stability when everything is shaking, isn't a life free from trouble.
No.
It's something infinitely better. It's the constant favor and presence of God himself.
That is the prize. And we have to close the loop on this. How do we become upright so that we can enjoy that favor? David himself was a flawed man.
Right. None of us are righteous on our own.
And that's where the gospel comes in. In the new covenant, we understand that it's through faith in Jesus Christ, who lived a perfectly righteous life for us, that we are declared upright in God's sight.
So it is through him that we secure this eternal favor.
It is. His sacrifice guarantees that no matter how much the earthly foundations shake, our foundation in him stands sure. And that is the ultimate comfort of Psalm 11.
What a powerful conclusion. It takes us from the depths of fear and conspiracy all the way to the security of being known, loved, and favored by the King who sits on the throne.
That's right. And this entire teaching, drawn from the materials of the You Need Faith in Jesus team, has really given us, I think, a clear and practical roadmap for how to handle a crisis.
It really has. The core lesson of Psalm 11 is that when all the voices of fear are screaming at you, to find some temporary physical safety.
Your first, your immediate, your resolute response has to be that declaration from verse 1. In the Lord put I my trust.
We've seen that even if the foundations of justice and society are completely destroyed, it doesn't matter in the ultimate sense because the Lord is still on his throne.
And his vision is perfect. He sees everything. He is working to refine the righteous and to bring certain judgment on the wicked.
So our job isn't necessarily to fix all the collapsing foundations of the world.
No. Our job is to make sure we are standing firm on the one foundation that can never, ever be shaken. And that is the character of God himself. His justice is a guarantee, and his favor is a promise.
A fantastic summary. And again, we want to thank the You Need Faith in Jesus team for providing such powerful, insightful teaching material for us to work through today.
And just before we finish, it's important that you don't just let this be something you listen to. It's important to really master these concepts.
Absolutely. To solidify your understanding of this lesson, be sure to use the flashcards to review key terms, words like privily, trieth, and countenance. And then take the quiz.
That's right. Passing the quiz will mark this lesson as complete and help lock in everything we've talked about today.